Thanks, Joseph, and welcome everybody to today's desktop workshop. Today, we're going to be talking about GSAFleet.gov. And some of you who may be new, right, may be wondering, what is GSAFleet.gov? I've heard a lot of this. And for those that have been with us and have heard this story many times, bear with me. But for those that are new, GSA Fleet has been operating for decades, and it's time that we are modernizing our systems. And so we are going to be moving from these 19 systems you see on the screen to this one single platform called GSAFleet.gov that is designed to consolidate, modernize, and improve how you buy, lease, rent, and manage your GSA leased and agency-owned vehicles. It's a really exciting opportunity for us. We've already released a lot of functionality that we're going to go over today, and we're excited that you've joined us today to learn a little bit more. So it would be good to take a moment and take a look at the past. We have released a lot of new functionality into our system as recently as just this past weekend. And I want to make sure we go over what is actually in GSAFleet.gov today, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's going to happen in the road ahead. So to begin with, we released quite a bit of functionality back in October of 2022. It's when we really started to put some meat on the bones, that is GSAFleet.gov. We released the FedFMS functionality, which is used it's our agency-owned FMIS software that was released into GSAFleet.gov, as well as our FMVRS, the Federal Motor Vehicles registration website, where your data for your vehicles feeds to inlets for our national law enforcement to be able to access. So if you're driving around in one of our GOVs and you have a government license plate on it, they're able to just verify that you are who you are and you're doing what you should be doing. I don't remember if Joseph mentioned, but there is a question answer block. So I see that someone has submitted a question. I've got some helpers standing by that are going to be answering those questions as we go. But if you have questions, please feel free to submit that along the way, and we'll get to them. We'll take periodic breaks throughout today's session to address them. So back to our past release milestones, right? So in March of 2023, we released new functionality such as the fleet leased card replacement ordering module, which allows our leasing customers to replace their WEX cards when they need to. We released the dispatch and reservation feature, which was available and still is available for our agency-owned partners, as well as our leasing customers. That really is a motor pool functionality that allows you to add vehicles to a motor pool and then have drivers create reservations to utilize those vehicles. So it's kind of like your ability to manage vehicles such as you would if you were renting a car, right? You've got a small pool of vehicles, a large number of users. You can really plan out the utilization of those vehicles that way. The other thing that we launched, and I'm sure if you've gotten into our system, you've accessed more than once, is our help page. It's full of video tutorials and resources available to you to navigate and learn your way through our system. In July of 2023, we migrated over part of our drive-through functionality. It was named SpeedPay, and today it is Wallet in GSAFleet.gov. This is functionality used to collect your accounting information as well as the Treasury account symbol that helps facilitate the movement of money across federal government agencies. And a big improvement there was it is now required for all agencies, all federal, civilian, and DoD agencies. So a lot of big changes happening. At that same time, we did also upgrade our interfaces with an internal system called Pegasus. A lot of work went into that to lay the foundations of moving in other functionality that we'll talk about later. In October of 2023, so just this past couple months ago, we released the crash report, which was another drive-through report, now available in GSAFleet.gov, as well as the ability to submit vehicle modification requests for leased vehicles. And I actually have a colleague of mine, Harold Powell, who will be joining us in just a few moments to give a demo of that functionality for us today. And then in December, just a couple of days ago, we released into our platform several new functionalities, which you can see on screen. One is we've moved that ability to schedule reports over from drive-through. So now you can schedule the crash report, the AIE report, the fuel use report, all from GSAFleet.gov. As I mentioned, we moved the agency incurred expense, or AIE report, over as well. We've moved the fuel use report, as well as two new functionalities that I'm very excited about. One is leasing account management. So instead of having to run a report from our system and download information, rather you can see exactly what accounts you're responsible for on the screen, which ones belong, if you're an agency headquarters fleet manager, how many accounts belong to your agency. If you're a local level fleet manager, what account you are assigned to and responsible for. So it's a very cool new addition. It also includes the number of vehicles that are associated with your account, and we'll be looking at it in a little bit as well. And then the last piece I want to add for our Fed FMS participating customers, or those that use GSAFleet.gov now as their FMIS, they'll be happy to know that we have added office management into GSAFleet.gov. This allows you to edit, create, manage the offices that you used in Fed FMS, but now in GSAFleet.gov. And for our leasing customers, there is now the ability for customer administrators to associate leased vehicles, leased accounts to those offices as well. So it's a really big first step into helping you streamline your organization of your fleets and vehicles and users in GSAFleet.gov. So very exciting there. All right, so sometimes I get asked, well, Genevieve, you've got all this functionality moved into GSAFleet.gov now. Do I still need an account in drive-through? And the short answer is yes. There is still quite a lot of functionality available in drive-through, and we highly encourage you to have an account if you're a leasing customer, both in GSA Fleet drive-through as well as in GSAFleet.gov. And there's a couple reasons for that. Not just because you can still access the customer acquisition module in drive-through, the customer-driven data, reporting your mileage on a monthly basis, preventative maintenance, and a couple more reports, but also that drive-through functionality and that drive-through account is helping us inform who you are and what permission you need to have in GSAFleet.gov. So please, if you are a new customer, new leasing customer to our agency, you still need to register for drive-through, and also please register in GSAFleet.gov for now. We are working to eventually sunset drive-through and have all of this functionality available for you in our single platform. However, in the meantime, we are migrating over in increments. So thank you for your patience there. And speaking of thank yous, right? A big thank you goes out to everyone that has spent time talking with us, who has shared their insights, their feedback on our systems, letting us know when this doesn't look right, something's a little weird here, or I can't see this one vehicle out of 7. What's going on? Thank you so much for sharing that feedback and sending us emails to fleetsystemsmodernization@gsa.gov. I hope we've been able to respond to your inquiries in a timely manner, as well as create the solutions for the issues that you're seeing. Our goal is to make our system as great as possible, and we really appreciate all the feedback that has been shared with us. So keep it coming. All right, so I went through all of the items that were in our latest release. We mentioned them there in that past review of what's been launched. But now we're going to get into a section of our desktop workshop today where we're really going to drill in and see some of this functionality live in our system. And I have subject matter experts here with me that are going to be able to demonstrate this for us. So the first thing that we're going to talk about right now from this latest release is the modification requests that you can submit for leasing vehicles. Some might know it as a vehicle upfit. Some of it might know as adding in additional equipment on their vehicle. But in GSAFleet.gov, we are calling it a modification request. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Harold, who is going to be giving us a demo on the modification request form. So Harold, if you would share your screen for us.
Hey, thanks, Genevieve. I appreciate that. Well, again, my name is Harold Powell. I'm with the Vehicle Management Branch, and I have been asked to demo a modification for you. Give me just one moment. We'll get that screen pulled up.
Thanks, Harold.
All right. You guys able to see my screen, Genevieve?
We are. Yep. Looks good.
All right. Just one thing, if someone could watch the comments, I do not mind being interrupted as we go through the modification feature. So please, if anyone has any questions, I will be happy to answer them as we go through the mod.
Perfect.
All
I'll
right.
keep you posted.
So the modification process, once you get logged into GSAFleet.gov, it is very intuitive. If you're looking for a particular vehicle that you want to do a modification for, you would simply go to Manage My Fleet. You go down to Vehicle Inventory. And the great thing about this is that there are not literally, but figuratively 100 ways you could actually search for a vehicle. So they make it easier for everyone. If you went in and say you wanted to just search by FSR's name, and this is just an FSR that I was talking to a little while ago, so I just pulled her up. So you can go in and it will search that FSR, if that's your FSR that's assigned to you through GSA Fleet, and it will search and pull up all of the vehicles that are assigned. And this is just to demonstrate and show you where everything is in here. As far as vehicle status, you can go to active vehicles and designate only your active vehicles to pull up to look for the vehicle you want to do a modification. So what we're going to do is I'll go back and we're going to simplify it. Say, for instance, I'm the agency contact, and I know exactly what vehicle I want to do a modification to. I could go to the license plate or VIN. Here I'm using license plate. No dash in GSAFleet.gov. This is the vehicle I want to do a modification on. It will search for that vehicle. This particular vehicle is a 2017 Chevy 2500 heavy duty. Say I've been asked to add a snowplow to this particular vehicle. We will simply select that VIN number. It searches for the vehicle. And the next item you want to search on in the search menu is modifications. If there is a modification or other modifications that have been done on this vehicle, they would simply be in this area. This vehicle is clean, does not have any other modifications done to it. So we want to request a modification. At this particular point, what you are looking at is a 2553A. This is it. This is where you're about to fill out that 2553A. And this process is automated and it's a lot easier, it's well organized, and it's all in one place now. So as an agency contact, which is what I am representing today, I will put down that I am the point of contact. I am in Georgia, so we'll use a zip code of 404. I like that old Prince song, 777-9311. It's that old Prince song, so we'll use that number. This is where I want to make sure that no one gets confused about the payment method. Agency funded being agency funded means that you, the agency, are going to make the payment at the vendor and pay for the modification yourself. If it's GSA funded, that means that that payment will be made by the MCC on your behalf. Anyone have any questions? Please feel free to ask, but agency funded, when you do this, that means that the agency will pay the vendor in order to pick the vehicle up. For this purpose, we're going to use a GSA funded. Say we're going to do a snowplow. Snowplow may range anywhere from $1,999 to $4,000. So let's say it's a $2,500 snowplow. Is the request for a lift gate or tow hitch? If it is, then there is a weight area here that you would actually have to put in the weight. For a snowplow, no. That block disappears. This modification request title is a snowplow. we will just put a request description, removal of snow just for a placeholder. And in the next area, anything that is over $2,500, anything over $1,000 is going to require 3 estimates or 3 quotes. That information is here, so that in the event that you forget, that information is spelled out here. How you can actually upload your documents if you have them saved to your documents or on your laptop or on your computer someplace. You'll actually choose from the folder that you want to go and retrieve the information from. You can also, and just want to show that you can even insert pictures. Let's say this is my son, he was in 8th grade. We can upload any pictures, especially if you're doing a modification where you're doing a wrap on a vehicle. It will take pictures as well as PDFs and any other documents. We're not going to go through and add all these other 3, but we get it. In the event that this is a wrap, you can also attach what that wrap is supposed to look like, and it states it here. Attach any other relevant files below, such as graphics. We can continue down to the attestation. One thing I wanted to point out is that it does state it here that requests costing over $1,000, wearable items will be capitalized into the value of the vehicle, and a monthly option rate will be assessed accordingly. Further understand that the equipment is GSA property and will remain on the vehicle at the time of turn-in. Other items here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Harold, real quick, can I stop you for a second? We've had a
Sure.
couple of questions come in about this GSA funded, this GSA paid.
I figured it would, yeah.
Payment mechanism, yeah.
Mhm.
So some of the questions are related to, well, shouldn't they just use their GSA WEX card to make payment for the modification? And would you like to tackle that, or should I answer that?
Well,
It's up to you.
the WEX card is only good for $99, up to $99. So any type of modification that we're talking about here is not going to work. So if you select agency funded here, your agency will have to present a form of payment at the vendor at the time you go to retrieve that vehicle after that upfit or modification has been completed. You will have to have a form. The WEX card is not designed for that. Gas purposes, yes, but go ahead, Genevieve. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's correct. And I just also want to clarify, Harold, what you're saying is 100% correct. If you select agency funded, it means that your agency is going to be giving the payment mechanism, normally a purchase card, to the vendor when you go to pick up the vehicle from its modification. GSA funded simply means that the payment mechanism is going to go through GSA Fleet versus having you present your purchase card as an agency owned upfit, right? Now, what does that mechanism look like for your drivers? And we're going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and then I'm going to lift us back up again for a second. But please, 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 if you do not know the process for the vehicle modifications and you want more information, visit our customer leasing guide. There is a whole section in there about how the funding and the capitalization of this works. The other thing that I would say is, if you have a modification that costs over $1,000 and GSA will be funding it, will be paying the vendor on your behalf. The reason that we say it's $1,000 is because if it's over $1,000, we are going to capitalize that cost into the monthly expense of your vehicle. If it's under $1,000, we will issue a one-time AIE back to your agency. Okay, so Michael, your question about 10,000 or 1,000, I think your 10,000 might be referring to the micro purchase threshold, which is a little different. That has to do more with our procurement actions and the number of estimates we need. But for the most part, let's just summarize it as this. Agency owned means your agency is going to be providing the purchase card to pay for the upfit that you're getting. GSA funded means GSA will handle the procurement, and then we will recoup our costs either through that one-time AIE back to your agency or by capitalizing it into the vehicle itself. All right. Hopefully that made sense, and we can continue on. I think, yeah, hopefully, Laura, I've answered your question too about the 10,000 versus 1,000. So it is 1,000 for capitalization, 10,000 is for micro purchase threshold. And then let's see, who else do we have? There's all sorts of questions, Harold, so bear with me. Let me go through a couple of them, and then
No problem.
so Kenneth asks, is there a method to see where your request is in the approval process? And if your request is rejected, are we notified automatically?
All right. So the process is the agency contact will actually go through this particular form, this modification request. We will continue down to the bottom and they're going to answer that question for you. So as you go to through the attestation and you go down and you select I agree and the submittal title, the agency contact, what happens is that you actually click submit to FSR. So this request for modification will go to the FSR. We're not able to see that particular side today because I'm only demoing the agency contact side. I'm unable to demo the FSR side anyway, but when you submit to FSR, this 2553A gets submitted to your FSR. If there's anything with your 2553 that needs to be corrected, you will receive an email back from the FSR stating what that correction should be, because there will be notes or comments attached to it. That way, if you have any questions about where it is in the process, you can email or contact your FSR is the best thing to do. If it's gone a couple of days and you hadn't heard anything, but it doesn't necessarily ping back that it's in some sort of pending status. I'm sure that's going to be post-production from what we're doing right now, but just contact your FSR would be the easiest thing to do. Once you click submit here, and then that FSR is notified, and then once the FSR approves that modification is then sent to the FMC manager for further approval, and then that way it emails it back to you that you are okay to go ahead and have the modification complete.
You, Harold. All right.
Genevieve, any more questions in the comments?
Yeah, they're coming in fast.
Okay.
All right. Also, just a clarification, someone said I may have misspoke that if your procurement is over $10,000, you have to have 3 estimates. For the 1,000, you only have to have 1. So if I misspoke, I do apologize. All right. Another question. In the past, agency-funded modification requests were paid for by GSA, and those modifications were just billed back with regular billing. Why the change? That is a good question, Kenneth, and I don't know if we have an answer for it. So I'm going to apologize and say I am going to ask one of my SMEs either to address it, or for those questions we aren't able to get to today, we do have the recording of the session and we'll be able to get back with you afterwards. So I'd say, Kenneth, instead of giving you misinformation, I'd rather phone a friend and have them reach out to you after, if that's all right. All right, let's see here. Lots of questions about vehicles showing incomplete in the system. Harold, I know that's not you, so I'm going to say, folks, hang on. Why don't we let Harold get through his demo, and then we'll address some more of these when we get to more of our VMS related functionality. How about that?
Okay. So if we don't have any further questions about the modification, that concludes the demo of the mod. So I just wanted to make sure that there were not any other questions just about how you feel that 2553 out and how it gets over to the FSR, and the FSR will make any corrections within that modification when they get it. If it's something that's not correct, they have the ability to put comments in that mod, and then it'll get sent back to you through an email.
Sounds good. There was one question about normal turnaround time for an FSR to review and approve the request. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, Harold, or
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not an FSR and so I would not want to, I'm sure there's some FSRs here in this meet if someone type in the comments as far as what their turnaround requirements are, but I am
Sure.
not 100% sure because I'm not an FSR.
Okay. Well, let me hop in. I was an FSR for 6 years, and I processed many of these modification request forms using the methodology we used prior to this incorporation into GSAFleet.gov. And so before it became part of GSAFleet.gov, generally the customer, you would send an email to your FSR. They would review the document you had submitted, make any corrections if needed. Then it would move to their FMC manager who would approve. Or if it was something like Harold mentioned before, like a vehicle rep, it may even have to go up to the deputy director of fleet to approve. And so sometimes that turnaround could take a week, maybe more. In GSAFleet.gov, we hope to have streamlined that process. So now all of the notifications are automatic. Everything can be done in one system with a single click of a button. And we hope to reduce that time dramatically. Now, I will say, Larry, I'll be honest, if you submitted a modification request 2 weeks ago, you probably have had a longer than normal delay. And that was because we discovered there was a defect with where the signatures were being applied on that 2553A. And so we did disable the approval functionality internally for some time, but it is up and running. Those modification requests should be flowing through the system very cleanly now. So hopefully that turnaround time should just be a day or two. Hope that helps. All right, let me see. Let's keep moving. All right, thank you, Harold. If you would let me go ahead and share my screen again. We still have a bunch of questions. Don't worry, we are not ignoring them. We're just going to keep flowing in our process today. And when we get to the next session, I think we can address a few more of them. All right. So thank you again, Harold, for demoing that modification request form. We really do hope that it is a much easier process being part of the system. But now let's take a moment. Oh, excuse me. Let's take a moment and talk a little bit about the reports features that have been released into GSAFleet.gov, especially those that have recently moved over from drive-through. And so we do have represented here on the screen all of the different reports that are available to users in GSAFleet.gov. Some of them are for agency-owned vehicles, for those agencies that participate using GSAFleet.gov as their FMIS. In addition to those reports that are available for both agency-owned and leasing customers, and then those that are available for leasing. And then last but not least, we did want to let you know which ones are available to be scheduled to be sent to your inbox. So when these slides are shared with you, you can take a much deeper dive and take a look at what's available out there to you. But now I want to turn it over to my colleague, Carol Boros, who is going to give you a demo of how to pull a report in GSAFleet.gov. So over to you, Carol.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. All right, please bear with me as I find the exact screen that I'd like to share. And Genevieve, can you just confirm that you see?
I can.
All righty, so I am logged in as an agency fleet manager into GSAFleet.gov. And so we have recently moved over the AIE report and the fuel use report and created that scheduler feature within GSAFleet.gov. So if you do happen to go to drive-through today, it will redirect you, and you try and click on one of those three links to download or schedule a report. It is going to redirect you to GSAFleet.gov. So in order to pull a report, this is the home page. And you can get to Run Reports by clicking on Run Reports at the top. And you're taken to the Vehicle Reports page. Here is where you will be asked and can select which type of report you'd like to run. So if you're looking for an agency-owned report, you're able to see from the drop-down. Right now we have FAST, Vehicle Repair Order, Vehicle Fuel Use Report, and the Vehicle Inventory Report. And then if you're looking for a GSA leased fleet leased report, you have the vehicle fuel use report, AIE report, and crash report. I know it says customizable inventory report here, but that is coming in the future, in the near future, and that can still be found on drive-through. So we're going to go ahead and schedule a report. And again, only a GSA fleet leased report, one of these 3 reports that you have in the system today, can be scheduled. At this time, an agency owned report cannot be scheduled. So we'll go ahead and select one of the new reports to AIE. And then you're given a new option is, would you like to save and schedule this report? So if you do not want to save and schedule this report and have it arrive to you on a reoccurring basis, you will hit no, run the report now. And after you fill out the step tracker with all of the required information, it will send to you within 15 minutes. However, if this is a report that you would like to schedule and you would like to receive automatically on a monthly, weekly, quarterly basis, you would select yes. And at the top, you'll see that a new step tracker schedule report will now display. You'll go ahead and select next. And you'll be taken to the agency selection where you will select your agency. And then that is the only required field on this page to select as the agency. Then you can narrow down to the bureau if you would like to narrow down to bureau, BOAC, legacy customer number, or agency indicator. We're going to stay at the agency level and hit next. And then we're taken to step 3. So that is report filters. So for the AIE report, you have 3 different options. You can run all AIE history for that agency you selected. You can select by license plate and enter the license plate, or you can select by VIN and enter the VIN. But for today's purpose, we're going to select all AIE history and hit next. And then you're taken to the scheduled reports page, where here you are able to name your report. Then you go down and you select the frequency. So we have weekly, monthly, and quarterly. Weekly, you will receive this report each week starting on the Monday after your start date. Monthly, you will receive, you will receive this report each month starting on the 1st of the month after your start date. And then quarterly, you'll receive it the first day of the quarter after your start date. Then we'll go ahead and select weekly for this purpose. Then you can go ahead and move down to end date. So as you see here, the start date is a non-editable field. As of today, that is when your scheduled report will start. So you only need to select an end date, and you can go as far out as 2 years from today's date. And then if you would like to add any additional recipients, you can go ahead and enter their email addresses here, just separate them by a comma, and it should get to them. However, there is no email validation within GSAFleet.gov within this section. So if you do enter an email address, it will not get sent to them, and you won't know unless they don't receive the report. But you are able to enter up to 9 additional email addresses. So from there, we're going to go ahead and schedule the report. And then you're taken to the scheduled reports landing page, where you can see that our report has been successfully scheduled to reoccur. You'll see some of the left-hand side filters, email address, you can search by email address, the organization, if you have multiple reports that are under, maybe you have, a report that's, is agency and then bureau, and then you have another report that is agency and then a different bureau. So you're able to search for different reports. Report status, which is active, inactive, and suspended. And then report type. So you're able to search between any of these 3 reports that we have in GSAFleet.gov today. And then the information that you see in the table, you have the report name, the start date, end date, report status, and actions. Go ahead and click on the drop-down arrow, and you will see all of the information, or most of the information that we just submitted for the report to be scheduled. So you'll see the report type, the email address that is associated with your user profile creating the report, the agency that you're running it for, and if there is a bureau that you selected, that would show here, the frequency, the next cycle date, the last run date, and then the last run status. So we have a new feature here, which is actions. And so an end user can come in here and edit, suspend, or delete a report. If you come in here and you said, you know what, I forgot to add the bureau, you can go click edit, and it'll take you back to step 2, agency selection, and you can go ahead and continue to edit as you see fit the scheduled report. It'll allow you to edit step 3 and also step 4. So if I want to change it to monthly, go ahead and update your scheduled report. And those changes should reflect in the dropdown. If I'm going on extended TDY for, let's say, 3 months, and I don't want to receive the reports to my email, I can come here and click suspend. It's going to ask me if I want to suspend the report. I say yes. And then when the report is in suspend status, you are not going to receive it until you come back in here and unsuspend the report. You go ahead and when you're ready, click unsuspend, and it'll make it active again. And then the last one is delete. Let's say I no longer want this report anymore. I'm done. I have moved on from that part of my fleet and I just don't need it anymore. You can go ahead and delete a report. And then there's nothing else. Well, your report has been deleted.
Hey, Carol.
Yes.
We do have a question, if you don't mind me jumping in. I know you're scheduling reports here, and I think we're about to move into maybe the fuel use report. But we had a question come in about what sort of changes have we seen in these reports? And they mentioned specifically like the fuel consumption report or fuel use report as we move into like adopting electric vehicles. Is that a consideration you guys are taking into account as we build out the new functionality? You want to say something about that?
That is a very good question. I may have to get back to that person on that. I know that I don't have a good answer, and I don't want to give out any misinformation on how we would track an electric vehicle and charging. So that is a very great question, and how that would go into the fuel use report, if it would, but we will have to get back to that question.
Sure. And I just want
an answer. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, and that is totally acceptable. What I do want to say though is there are some elements that are new to fleet management, or we've been looking to solution for quite some time. And so as we're building out new functionality, of course, we are looking to incorporate some of those elements, but not everything has been solutioned at this time, right? So we know where we want to go and we're working piecemeal to get there, but I'll definitely make sure that we take that back to the team to make sure that they've noted to add it in. So thanks, Carol. Appreciate it anyways. I'll let you get back to your demo.
Okay, so so that's how you schedule a report. And for the most part, all of the reports are going to follow that same path, step 1 through step 4. If we can go ahead and get back to these vehicle reports landing page. So you can either click on create scheduled report, or up here at the top, vehicle reports manager. And so it takes us right back here. So we are going to not schedule a report, but go for the vehicle fuel use report, just so we can show both paths. So would you like to save and schedule this report? So today I just want to run it right now and I want to receive it right now. So click no. And then step 2 is going to be the same for all reports. You're going to select the agency and any further criteria that you need based on your bureau, BOAC, legacy customer number or agency indicator. And then you're taken to step 3, which has all of the fuel use report criteria. Unlike the scheduled report, all of the date selections are on step 4. If you're scheduling the report ad hoc, it's going to allow you to select a date. So we're going to go ahead and do it from October 1st to today. Report selection, same as drive-through. So you still have, for the most part, all of the options. So transactional by vehicle, summary by vehicle, detailed by reporting level, and summary by reporting level. So go ahead and select your choice. We have vehicle options. So again, all fuel use history, or you can select by license plate or by VIN if you want to just search on that. We're going to go with all fuel use history. And then we have, scrolling down, some other options. You're able to select a purchase fuel type, whether it's CNG, diesel, E85 gas. At this time, only one selection is allowed for this section, merchant state. And then if you have a zip code that you'd like to add. But again, these are additional other options. They are not required. The fuel unit type, however, is required. So that's natural units or the gasoline gallon equivalent. And then the additional options are, if you want to add to the report, the fund code or description 1 and description 2, which is the previous account 1 and account 2 fields. So we're going to leave those out today. And then that is it. After you select your criteria on step 3, you're going to export report to email, and you're going to get this green banner letting you know that the report has been successfully is being processed, and you should receive it within the next 15 or so minutes. All right, so I'm going to open it up for any questions, or if it's easier, Genevieve, I can just reply to things in the chat.
We actually did have 2 questions that I wanted to have you answer live. One question is, so for the report scheduler, right, if they have programmed one for agency current expense to run weekly, will that report that's arriving weekly be for the previous week, or will it be from the time I started that report to now?
No. So, okay, I'm very glad someone asked this question. So it will be week over week. One of the limitations that we had in drive-through was that when you selected the start and end date, it kind of just sent you the same report over and over and over again. We built the system to not do that. So if you're receiving it weekly, you will receive the data from the prior week. And that will, it's continual. It's not going to provide you the same data based on the start and end date.
Great, thanks. The follow-up to that was also, are customers still going to receive daily AIE emails? So when an FSR issues that email, will they still be notified?
So at this point, we have not yet built that feature, the AIE feature, into GSAFleet.gov. So this one was only the report capability pulling from drive-through. The AIE module for internal fleet and the AIE email that customers get that day after, that is something that is being discovered. We're doing user discovery on that right now, and we're building the business requirements. So if that is something that we need to continue to have, we will definitely reach out to folks to make sure that if it is something that we all want, that we continue to include that in our build.
Great, thanks. We do have some other questions. However, I know we're getting sort of close to 3 o'clock. So if you wouldn't mind jumping back into the chat block, Carol, to answer some of these questions. And I do want to say thank you so much for giving us a demo. Always good to see the functionality live. So appreciate it. With that, we are going to jump really quickly back to our slide deck here. Keep moving. All right. So one other thing we wanted, well, two other things we want to talk about today. The first one is the customer account migration. So this is for our leasing customers, okay? So if you are a GSA Fleet leasing customer, you are very used to operating in GSA Fleet drive-through. And GSA Fleet drive-through has your vehicles organized by a customer number. That customer number is a 15-digit concatenation or grouping of different data fields. Well, we have migrated those customer numbers into GSAFleet.gov now, and we are looking to help display information to you using those customer numbers. So with the release that just happened over the weekend, we do now have available live in GSAFleet.gov your ability to use those legacy customer numbers in our system. They can be found in several different places, and we'll see some of them in just a moment when we do a demo, but they're found in the reports, in the vehicle inventory screen, on the leasing account management or customer account page. They're found in user profiles. So if you are a drive-through user, we've scoped your access or limited your access to vehicles in the system to just those vehicles that are associated with those customer numbers in your profiles. And last but not least, they're also being utilized in a new function that we're going to look at as well called office management. So you want to participate, you want to give us some of that really valuable feedback. Here's how you can help. If you see something that looks a little odd, say something. Report those discrepancies to Fleet Systems Modernization at GSA.gov, or feel free to email our help desk. That email is at the bottom of all of our screens, and let us know what you're seeing. And if you can, please include a screenshot of what you're seeing. Sometimes seeing what's going on is as valuable as your description of what is happening. So don't forget, you can speak out, let us know what you're seeing if something looks a little weird. All right. And so I mentioned leasing account management, and I am going to hop into the system in just a moment to kind of show you what that functionality looks like. But let's talk about what it is. So the first thing it is it's found under Manage My Fleet, where most of your functionality is found. The second thing is that it allows users to see which accounts are associated with their profile. So if you're an agency fleet manager, you're able to see all of the leasing accounts that are active and, in this case, inactive, that are associated with your agency. If you're a bureau level fleet manager, meaning maybe you have access to all of Army Sustainment Command, right? Then you'd be able to see your entire fleet in one page. The other item I would say is if you're a local fleet manager and you really have to manage 5 vehicles or maybe a group of 12 vehicles, you'll see that one account that's associated with your name, and you'll be able to take action from there. Of course, as I'm kind of illustrating, different users will have different levels of access to this page. But what it is designed for is to give you a quick level, high overview of your accounts, who's the official point of contact on it, who the FSR is and how to contact them, how many vehicles are associated, and what is the BOAC that's associated with that account as well. So before I get into the system, I did want to also cover office management. And this one I think is probably most exciting for our agency-owned customers or those that use GSAFleet.gov as their FMIS for agency-owned vehicles. And I think we actually had someone in the chat, it may have been Patricia, who brought it up about being able to edit offices. So a new functionality that we have rolled out just this past weekend is office management, and I'll show you where it's found in the system. But office management is a way for those users that have customer administrator rights, so normally headquarter or bureau level headquarter fleet managers, to be able to organize their fleets in GSAFleet.gov. And it's not just agency-owned vehicles anymore, but they can also start to associate, as you can see on the graphic on our slide, you can start to associate agency-owned vehicles, leasing accounts, or just leasing accounts to an office. So this type of functionality for me as a former FSR is really exciting because I remember I would have a point of contact that may have 3 or 4 different accounts that they were managing because they had different BOACs, or maybe they had different locations that they were needing to manage. And they had to log in and look at 4 different accounts at a time. With office management, there creates a possibility of being able to see your leasing accounts in one single place. And if you also manage agency-owned vehicles, your agency-owned vehicles in the same spot as well. So definitely something that we're looking forward to, very excited to have rolled out. And we are encouraging headquarters fleet managers to work with us to help streamline your accounts and your users in the system. And if you haven't had my colleague Juan reach out to you, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to set up a time to sit and talk with you and go over your data. All right, so now I get to demo our functionality today. Oh, trying to log in as the wrong person, hold on. I meant to click this single sign-on, apologies. All right, so for GSA employees, let me tell you what I mean by that. GSA employees, we have to use a different type of security authentication into the system. That's why I have a different login. But for all of our customers out there, if you are not a GSA employee, you will use our customer login. All right. So here we are in GSAFleet.gov. Please excuse some of this clutter up here. I am a system administrator, so I have access to some other functionality that we don't normally have. But what I wanted to show you is that, one, we've alphabetized this Manage My Fleet dropdown. We had many customers asking us for that. And if you would navigate to leasing account management, and I know I need to zoom in. So if you navigate to leasing account management, you land on the customer accounts screen. And here is where, if you are a FSR, fleet service representative, they would see all of the accounts that they're responsible for. As a customer, depending on your level within your organization, you would see all of the accounts that fall within your organization. Like I said, I'm a site administrator, so, uh-oh, that is not a desired behavior. Let me log out and log back in again. It may have given me an error for that reason. And for those of you that are on your own computers, if you want to log in and follow along, please feel free to do so. All right, so leasing account management under Manage My Fleet. And I'm going to go ahead and search for the accounts that I was an FSR for. And this is all old data that we're looking at. This is why I have 0 vehicles associated with it. But this is the page where you'll be able to see what the account name is, who the agency point of contact is. So this might be you, a local fleet manager, or this might be the local fleet manager that as a bureau level or agency headquarter fleet manager you need to talk about a vehicle, the FSR's name, and then of course you would see the number of vehicles associated. I do want to point out that there is a toggle here, a caret, where you can see different information associated with the account. So who it belongs to, who that point of contact is, which FMC it belongs to. But more importantly, if you select the hyperlink, you'll also be able to see much more detailed information on the vehicle detail screen. I am trying to be mindful of the time. So instead of jumping into that, we're going to explore a little bit more of the drop downs on the left-hand side, and then quickly jump to office management. I want to make sure I'm able to show that to you all. So over here on the left-hand side, if you would think of this whole feature as one big table, it's a big Excel sheet, right? Where you have a list of different data elements, and maybe you want to find where are all of the vehicle or where are all of the accounts within this fleet that are assigned to, I don't know, let's pick one, Department of State. I didn't have any customers under Department of State, unfortunately. Let me go to, I know we had one for Army. And what the page did is it has filtered and is only returning now the accounts that I had for the Department of Army, right? So play around with these filters, let us know what you think. And then of course you can remove the filters. Maybe as a headquarter fleet manager, you want to see out of all of the lists of accounts, you want to see which ones are associated with a given BOAC. Let's see if I remember a BOAC well enough that we can pull one up for you. It may not. Oh, there you go. I had one still associated with me. So you can also use that BOAC to pull up the different accounts that are associated with given users. If you're a local point of contact, maybe you want to filter by your email address. You can key in your email address here, search for it, and would only return the accounts that belong to you. And then last but not least, if you have that legacy customer number, that 15-digit number you use in drive-through, and you prefer to just quickly access your account by pulling it up that way, you could do that here as well by typing it in. And that is the customer account screen. One other item I did want to point out is if you are just looking for a specific vehicle, you can navigate to the screen and then key in that license plate. It could be agency owned license plate. It could be a leased license plate, leasing vehicle. And also I'm happy to report this is a feature that we're going to be moving to our homepage as well for everyone to access in the future. All right, I see questions coming in, so let me answer some. Will we be able to see multiple accounts like GSA drive-through? We're a higher level office overseeing other offices with separate account numbers. Yes, absolutely, Alexander, absolutely can. And Patricia, to your question, we had kind of talked about that office data and updating that. Well, if you happen to be a customer administrator for your agency, and if not, you would simply have to work with one. As a customer administrator, you can navigate to your name on the top right corner of the screen. We have a new function that we've added. It's called an organization profile. This is the beginning of a new feature that is going to essentially be, for lack of a better term, a command center, right? Where agency headquarter fleet managers can input information that is going to create and manage content across your fleet within our platform. And the first element we've started with is office management. So going back to that question, how do I amend the name of the office that a vehicle is associated with? Or more importantly, how do I just change the name from do not delete or all offices to something that's more meaningful? Well, navigate to office management if you're a customer administrator, and you can select the agency you work for. You can select the bureau. I'm going to pick one of our agencies here. Can we be able to pull a report that lists all of the vehicles on the BOAC? Valerie, I believe you can do that from the vehicle inventory screen. And if not, very, very soon, when we release the customized inventory report, most likely in the middle to late January, you will be able to pull that at that time. All right, so it is not liking me right now because this is one of our test accounts, and I don't think we have one. So let me show you how to create an office very quickly. So simply click Create Office. We'll put in a code. I live in Atlanta, so I'm gonna put ACL for my office code. I could put a numerical value as well. And I'm gonna call this Genevieve's test office. And I misspelled it. Oops. Well, I'm going to show you how to edit it because I misspelled. I did that fast. So I want to change the name of this. I'll click on the ellipsis, the actions button, select edit, and then I'm able to go back in and correct my error. It also is telling me I forgot an apostrophe. Perfect. And so by creating this office here, it is now available in other elements of the system. So let's go look at manage my fleet. Let's go back to vehicle inventory. And I'm going to use our organization filter here, agency filter. We're going to look up agency 22. I believe I put it under Bureau 1. And now, there it is, ATL, Genevieve's Test Office. There's no vehicles associated with it yet. We haven't moved anything into it, but it is now available there. Another space where it's also available is in pretty much anywhere that we have the filter for agency or organization. But let's say I wanted to then remove that office, right? It's no longer needed. I would simply navigate back to the organization profile, manage offices. Let's take a look at the questions while I'm waiting. Imelda, I see your question. I'm looking at all customer accounts under my name. However, there's a bunch of accounts that show 0 vehicles. Yes, they can be left out soon. I am currently working on an enhancement with our developers to add in some additional functionality that allows you to essentially hide, actually, will automatically hide and apply this filter so you don't have to wade through all of the inactive accounts to avoid that confusion. So yes, duly noted, we are working on it, and we'll be hopefully being able to roll out that solution very, very soon for you. In the meantime, you get a glimpse of the historical customers that used to be assigned to your lid. All right. So we're back here in office management. I realize I am hopping around. Oops. Here we go, agency. This is the only office we have, so I'm not going to navigate further into the bureau. But let's say we wanted to remove this office. You know what? I don't have any people, excuse me. I don't have any people associated with it. I don't have any vehicles associated with it. I just want to clean it up. I want to get rid of it. You can navigate into the test office screen, into the office details screen, and delete that office. We'll give you a test banner. And you're able to delete the office out of the system. I will tell you, if there's a vehicle, license plate, or user associated with that office, we will give you a message that says, you can't remove this office. We won't let you do it because we don't want you to orphan that data in the system. You simply have to go remove the data from that office, and then you'll be able to delete it or clean it up. All right, got lots of questions coming in. One from, okay, I see Carol, you're tackling that one. Jim, any way to see secondary points of contacts for accounts? Can we select them to send in notifications to? Jim, at this time, the answer is no. However, as soon as we are able to decommission our legacy system not Fed FMS, our legacy system FMS, so we're looking at about the June to July timeframe, hopefully, we will be allowing our customers to have more than one official point of contact in the system, and that user will also then be able to receive those notifications as well. We're actually including up to 3. So that's a very exciting enhancement to come. And since we are over time, I'm just going to quickly wrap us up really quickly. And any questions we didn't get to, we will be answering, via email afterwards. But, looking at what's next, what's on the road ahead. Well, we're actively working on recalls to hope to be able to release early in next year. We also have that customized inventory report that I talked about a little bit earlier for you to be able to access in GSAFleet.gov. We have the accident management for OCONUS. So while this is on the back end for GSA, it is exciting because we're incorporating more of our data from our overseas leased fleets, which will then also be available to our customer users. And then last but not least, a big release that we are working on for early spring is vehicle purchasing. So moving all of that auto choice functionality into GSAFleet.gov into a new streamlined manner. So a lot of exciting things ahead. And in the meantime, if you need help and access to resources, we have plenty for you to find and choose from. We will be sharing these slides early next week. So take a look at them. There's a plethora of information for you to find, but always, always, always feel free to reach out to us. I see Maurice has asked for some time to be educated on the system or to walk through the system. Please feel free to reach out to Fleet Systems Modernization at GSA.gov right here. And we are happy to meet with you and walk you through functionality or answer your questions. And so with that, I think I turn it over to Joseph if you have any closing words for us.
Yeah, thank you, Genevieve and panelists, and thank you everyone for attending today's desktop workshop. As a reminder, the slides will be posted on our desktop workshop website sometime next week, and the recording will be posted there as well. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.